The US spends $800 billion a year on defense. We have 11 carrier strike groups, a force capable of wiping any country off the map. Yet, in February 2026, our proud USS Abraham Lincoln, a symbol of this might, was circling like a punching bag in the Arabian Sea. Trailing a few miles behind it was a white vessel under a Chinese flag, the Dayang Yihao, or Ocean One. Not a warship, a research vessel, with a couple of massive, scientific radars on deck. Do you believe that story? I've been tracking these games for 10 years. From an analyst at the Defense Intelligence Agency to digging through open sources, and I'll tell you, this isn't a scientific mission. It's standard protocol. While our guys on the Lincoln's deck were practicing defending against Iranian drones, an attack that, incidentally, happened around the same time, Chinese _2_ were recording everything. How our air defense reacts, what frequencies our communications use, where our radars are looking. It's like your spy neighbor standing outside your window while you're fending off burglars. Recording your locks and who you call. Audacious? They are brazenly stealing our secrets while we're busy putting out their fires. Why is this important right now? Because Ocean One isn't alone. It's a scout for an entire army of ghosts. While Washington and CNN are fixated on elections and Trump's tweets, a real war is unfolding in the shadows. A war for control over global trade, energy, and your well-being. China is playing it brilliantly dirty, through vessels that don't shoot, but nip at our heels. Today we won't just look at one spy boat. We'll expose an entire system, the Shadow Fleet. We'll learn how it works, how to track it, and most importantly, why this gray armada threatens America more than any Iranian drone. Watch closely. So, the quote 5 is not the official fleet of the People's Liberation Army. It's our American nickname for a network of hundreds, if not thousands, of battered cargo ships and tankers that look like rusty wrecks from the 90s. They don't bear emblems, nor do they salute Beijing's flags, but their mission is pure, ingenious malice. Circumventing our sanctions, pumping oil from Iran and Venezuela, and at the same time, spying and feeding those who strike at our interests. Imagine, you're trying to choke an enemy with economics, and they hire private smugglers to eat and drink their fill. Audacious. It's like Chicago mobsters announcing, quote 7. Let's break down the mechanics, like in a good old detective story. Take a typical tanker from this pack. It's old, cheap, bought for pennies through a shell company in Panama or Liberia. The crew? A mix of Pakistanis, Indians, and Chinese under a Comoros flag, the kind where no one checks. The task? Pick up Iranian oil in Bandar Abbas. But directly to China? No, that's suicide. Our patrols in the Persian Gulf would spot it. Instead, the ship sails into neutral waters of the Arabian Sea, switches off its automatic identification system, AIS. That's like a GPS beacon for ships that everyone sees on maps. There, in the dark, it meets a quote 8, another ghost. They transfer oil side by side under the cover of night. Then they split. One to India, supposedly for quote 9, the other to China, disguised as Malaysian. Profit? Hundreds of millions of dollars per ton. Risk? Minimal, because formally, it's private business, not an order from Zhongnanhai. China simply looks away and counts the barrels. Feel the irony? We spend billions on a navy to catch these mice, and they breed faster than we can blink. Want to check for yourself? Go to Marine Traffic or Spire Global. Open ship tracking maps. Look for shadows, vessels with rogue flags that suddenly disappear from radar for hours or days, then teleport across the ocean. Google Dark Fleet, Iran sanctions. You'll see reports from the Center for Strategic and International Studies. The numbers. In 2025, over 100 million tons of, quote, 13 oil passed through this network. That's the equivalent of a year's fuel for the entire US military, only in the hands of our adversaries. And now, for the cherry on top. These same holds aren't just for oil. They're packed with parts for Iranian drones, microchips for missiles, even equipment for cyber attacks. In the open sea? Who's going to inspect it? No one. This isn't just smuggling. These are the arteries of a hybrid war, where China feeds Iran without getting its hands dirty. Why is this brilliant and terrifying? Because it targets our weaknesses. We are strong in direct combat, aircraft carriers, missiles, but in the grey zone, where there are no clear fronts, our power is useless. To attack such a tanker, that means plunging into a diplomatic hell, accusing Beijing and risking escalation. Not to attack? To allow them to arm the Houthis. The Iranians, everyone who sinks our tankers and chokes shipping. The result? Gas prices at your pump soar by $10 a gallon, supply chains break, and China buys the world with our own money. Let's put the puzzle pieces together. One spy, ocean, is intelligence. The ghost fleet is logistics. Together? A complete system that's setting a trap. But how do you actually track it? 3 signs, and you'll see for yourself when the shadows come alive. Okay, theory is great, but let's get down to earth. How do you, sitting at your kitchen table with a laptop, know when this shadow fleet moves from quiet oil smuggling to something truly dangerous, like supplying drones to the Houthis or parts for Iranian missiles? I'll give you 3 simple signs based on open sources. This doesn't require secret passwords or insider info from Langley, just logic and a little curiosity. Even if you're new to marine trackers, you'll manage. The first sign is playing games with the Automatic Identification System, or AIS. It's like a GPS beacon for ships. It should broadcast its name, position, and course in real time so everyone can see who's sailing where. Go to Marine Traffic. It's free, like Google. Look for a tanker that left the Iranian port of Bandar Abbas. If it suddenly disappears for an entire day in the middle of the Arabian Sea and then materializes off the coast of China with a route that is physically impossible, say, traveling at 200 knots, that's not a glitch. That's deliberate jamming. They turn off the beacon to hide a meeting with another ghost or an entry into a prohibited area. If such _15_multiply in hotspots, like the Strait of Hormuz, it's an alarm bell. The shadows are coming alive. The second sign is satellite imagery and dark meetings. Use services like Sentinel Hub from the European Space Agency or commercial photos from Planet Labs. They're available online, often free for basic viewing. Look at open waters. 2 large vessels sitting side by side, far from standard routes, especially at night or in a storm. No movement, lights off. This is a quote 17, transferring oil, weapons, or electronics directly in the ocean without customs officials. Imagine a rusty tanker under a Liberian flag meets a cargo ship off the coast of Yemen. If such dances become more frequent, that's not fishing. That's logistics for chaos, where the Houthis get fuel for drones and we get a headache with gas prices. The third sign is the language of statements from the United States Central Command, or CENTCOM. Don't read them like a newspaper. Dissect them. When they report intercepting a shipment of advanced weapons intended for Houthi militants, and add that These networks are supported by state actors. Those aren't random words. That's a diplomatic hint. We know whose money and equipment are here, but we can't call out Beijing directly to avoid sparking World War III. An increase in such reports is like a spike on a thermometer. They don't catch all the ghosts, only the tip of the iceberg. But even these catches show the network is activated, and Iran and its partners are arming themselves in our blind spots. Now, let's return to our Ocean 1. It wasn't hiding. AIS was working, position open. Why? Because its job isn't to conceal, but to exert psychological pressure. A signal to us and our allies. We are here. We see your defenses, and we are helping those who strike your tankers. A masterclass in the grey zone. But why would China fuel this fire now? Let's put more pieces of the puzzle together, and you'll see how this affects your wallet and the global order. Okay, let's pause. Let's put the puzzle together. We have a Chinese spy ship near our vessels, a network of shadow ships circumventing sanctions, Iran armed to the teeth, attacking tankers. The billion-dollar question. Why would Beijing feed such a dragon as Tehran? They supposedly advocate for stability, for their own oil trade. Let's apply some logic. China doesn't need Iran to win. They need a weakened America. Their ideal is an eternal fire in the Middle East. It drains our resources, money, navy, attention. While we extinguish Iranian drones, fueled by Chinese money and technology, Beijing quietly conquers Asia, Africa, Latin America. This is a strategy of keeping the enemy on the periphery. Iran is a cheap proxy, motivated by hatred for us. They don't fight themselves. They send, quote, 23. Here are the words of a former Defense Intelligence Agency analyst in February 2026, quote 24. Translation, quote 25 means petrodollars through the shadow fleet. Underscore, quote, underscore 26 underscore means data from the underscore, quote, underscore 27 underscore so Iran can target better. China isn't sending troops. It's sending soft power and contraband, and we pay. With soldiers' blood and a spike in gas prices at your pump. Now, Trump. Chinese spies are sailing around our ships, transmitting data to dictators. Not rhetoric, a diagnosis. Washington slept on it. We saw China as a factory, but it's a master of geopolitics. This hits the dollar, your savings. If we don't expose the scheme, we'll be choked in the gray zone. And now, the cherry on top. What if this is just the beginning? So, let's summarize what we've uncovered. China's shadow fleet isn't just rusty oil tankers, it's a hybrid tool. It siphons Iranian dollars, circumventing our sanctions, feeds enemies with drone and missile parts, and spies on our aircraft carriers in real time. Ocean 1, near the USS Abraham Lincoln, isn't a coincidence. It's a demonstration. We see your weaknesses while you put out fires we ignite. Iran strikes at shipping, and China pays it with soft power. Data, technology, money. Without troops, without scandal. Just strangulation in the gray zone. What's next? These quote 31 at sea will become more frequent. Quote 32. Vessels like quote 33 will become bolder, approaching our groups more closely. We'll see more incidents. Our destroyers will be forced to escort Chinese spies to keep them out of the way during operations. The risk of an accidental collision will skyrocket, or a provoked one. By 2027, this could escalate into a crisis where we'll have to choose: shoot or retreat. China doesn't want war. It wants us to spend billions on patrolling while it builds bases in Africa and Asia. Why does this affect you personally? The next Houthi attack on a tanker, and oil will jump to $150 a barrel. Your gas pump, groceries, heating bills, everything will double. The dollar, our shield, relies on control of the seas and petrodollars. If the shadow fleet erodes this, inflation will eat away at your savings, pension, home. Your children will inherit not America as a superpower, but a country that pays tribute to cunning ghosts. Don't relax. It's already knocking at your door. What to do? Don't panic, and don't believe headlines. Be armed with the truth. Call your congressman. Demand funding for the Coast Guard and a navy to hunt shadows, drones, satellites, AI, for tracking even with AIS off. Push for real measures. Tightening sanctions on shell companies, alliances with India and Europe against Chinese contraband. And an honest conversation. This is a new Cold War. Quiet, but deadly. Subscribe, like, share, so we can watch their hands together. I'll dig deeper. You spread the facts. Power is no longer in aircraft carriers. It's in patience, cunning, and shadows. Can America, born in the light of freedom, fight in the twilight? Or is a hand from the darkness already reaching for our future?